McCarthy Ranch. You know the McCarthy Ranch right here? Well, when I was growing up, I was a youngster of 40, and it was in the 1970s, okay? Early 70s. And McCarthy Ranch wasn't even here. This was just all, in fact, you know what this was? This was an airstrip. In fact, I took air lessons right here. Took my son up for airplane ride around the area and landed right here. So they took a beautiful airstrip and gave you a place to work. Huh. But I happen to know the fella, McCarthy. I happen to know him because I created the software that did the accounting to run about 160 of the limited partnerships that own all the property in the area. I'm what we call an originator, except I chose to stay small. Well, people after me, you know, like Apple and Microsoft, went corporate and went big. And those choices made in life. Now, choices made in life are really important. And as you go through life, you're young, what you find out is it's not what you want a lot of times, but eliminate what you don't want. Have you ever noticed that? I don't want to do that. I am no longer going to go work at McDonald's. I'm leaving. And I'll go do something else. So half your life, or 3/4 of your life, is expended figuring out things you don't want to do. Well, back there in the 70s, it was new age, brand new age. All the personal growth things are going on. Everyone's read it, you know. I don't know this Robbins fella, you know. You don't know him? Oh, geez. He's even getting old now. There must be new age people now that will give you the path to mental freedom. They're around. They've been around for years. They had Dale Carnegie was one of the first ones. If anyone read Dale Carnegie? Okay. Norman Vincent Peale? Okay. Well, they were even old when I was young. I started reading those when I was aboard an aircraft carrier, the Aircraft Carrier Enterprise, back in the 60s. When you had plenty of extra time and I wanted to see what I wanted to do. But during that time, I got, and on the future, by the way, I don't work at the mental health center. I worked at the mental health center. It's one of my jobs going through. I'm actually still, they won't let me go, president of a software firm that's been around for 40 years. Okay? But what I got at that time is if you really are looking at choices you make, you really look, you should sit down and write them. Write them. I sort of know them instinctively. Well, you don't. And your mind flows here and there and everywhere. And what you find at the end of your life is it all happened while you were planning. So as you move along, we're at this time in your life, sit down and just write one goal, what's a good time? Second, hour, day, week, month, year. You guys are pretty young. 72. So once a year, I would have had a lot of goals. And I still have goals. 72, you got to get it. Now, I did it all in about 1 year when I finally sat down. And it was because someone was powerful enough to get out and make money at telling me to do that. So I paid for the seminar, and I went and I got, why don't you write down what you want? Just write it down. And the more detail you write about it, the more the universe and you focus on it happening. And the more it happens. Now, I'll give you an example of this, okay? And I'll bring back in McCarthy because that was one of the goals I set, was to be a software, to have a software firm, okay? Well, right now, I'm in the midst of being a professional speaker. But it isn't even being a professional, it's being a speaker. Now, why do I have the cameras there? Well, one, because I can afford them. But I can afford them because I wrote goals. And I completed the goals. But I had the idea that I wanted to be a speaker. So what did I do? I said, if I want to be a speaker, I have to get someone to evaluate me. Well, who's the worst critic in the world on me? Besides my wife. Me! So I videoed me. So what does that make me now? That makes me better than you. Why? Because I took an extra step. It doesn't make me better, really, but it brings me faster to being a professional speaker. It's speed. Treasuring time. If you want to treasure time, you handle things expediently. You find the fastest way. Fastest way to be a speaker is to video yourself and watch your own videos. Okay? That's why I have two. I bring them everywhere. Do you know how many videos I have of myself that are on YouTube? For Toastmasters, I have 68. For Old Man Stories, which is one of my little projects, I have 110. You know how long I've done this in? 2 years. 2 years. And I did it because I wrote objectives. Now, back in the 70s, I wrote objectives, and I wrote objectives so that I could have a life that I wanted. And one, I set up an objective, and I said, I want to make money. Money is good. I love money. I want to make money. But I didn't settle for that goal, okay? Because I wanted to be healthy while I made money. Don't you all want to be healthy while you make money? So second, I chose to be healthy. Third, I chose to be happy. Okay? Now, if you don't write those down, the universe has a tendency, oh, you didn't say you want to be happy. I don't have to make you happy. So write them down. Detail it. So I said, well, when I get in this business, what do I want to do? I said, I like to work in something that I really, really, really enjoy. And at the time, I really enjoyed programming. And I enjoyed programming because it was right at the beginning of the programming era. They went from punch cards to mini computers. And I lived and created systems right during that era. I wrote operating systems that would have competed with Microsoft's DOS. And found out that I had to live in a little cubicle in the middle of nowhere for 24 hours a day, and that wasn't any fun. So I said, I'll let that go. It's okay. I love the programming, but I want to be with people. So I want to be a programmer with people. So that was fun for me. So I want to be a programmer with people. So I said, man, this fits another criteria. I want to get a job in an industry that uses as little pollution as possible and still make money. And there aren't many of those. And you're all in that industry. It's thought industry. And it's wonderful. And when I did that, I says, oh, I want another little objective. I want to work from home. Huh. You want to make a lot of money, work from home, be happy. Man, those are a lot of tough stuff. Okay? And I said, you know what I like to do also? I like to travel. And I like to meet all kinds of new people from all over the world. I have an MBA in international management. I've never really practiced it very much. But I said I like to travel all over to visit people, meet people. So that's another one of mine. So I put all those together. And I said, what you want, Roland, is you want a software firm that's more like a Chinese laundry, where you live downstairs and work downstairs and live upstairs. I looked at it and I said, that's a pretty good way of life. Wouldn't it be nice to be with your family every day, and work and make money and make fabulous money? Okay? Be a multimillionaire. Wouldn't that be fun? So I wrote it down. And then I said, I want a relationship that supports me in it. Woo! Now that's a toughie. Man, that's a lot of things to ask. So I took off. And I went, I wrote my list, and I put it somewhere. I wrote it. In fact, I found it one time. Man, I filled every one of those. How do you like that? I filled every one of those. If you drive down Mission Boulevard, you see a big two-story building with another building in back, down by Niles. I ran my offices out of there to 2001 when the city kicked me out. Okay? Because it wasn't quite zoned to have a 14 staff working out of my house. And when the kids were growing up, I'd be sitting in the living room on my lounge chair with a computer thing hanging over my thing, and with a computer here and a computer there and a printer there, and programming while they were running around the house and watching the TV, and the wife was yelling at them. I forgot to tell them I wanted to sort of do that without distractions. I forgot to put that on the list. So I got all that. But that was okay, because I was with family. Well, while I was there, doing this small thing, I got a call. I don't know where they got my name. I got a call from this company called CPS and Associates. They're right down the road here, about 5 miles, or maybe 4 miles. And they had a firm, and they were industrial developers. And they were putting up all kinds of office buildings around here. And they said, we're paying a fortune for CPA work. Oh, by the way, I'm also CPA. And we want someone to sit down and program software to do our accounting, because we have 105 limited partnerships now, and we'll have 160 within about 4 months. And this has cost us a fortune because we need audited statements monthly. So sure I can do it. I guess. Within that 4-month period, because I had my objectives, I created this system for them. I think they're probably still using it. They hired one of my staff away and left me after about 2 years of it all running. But CPS and Associates, Callahan, Pence, and someone else, one of the partners was McCarthy. And he was thinking of putting in this whole area here, plus a place out on 580, if you've ever seen it, where Oracle is. No, and it used to be whatever the other low-life room was. I'm sorry, people saw. They took an account. And I had the opportunity to come down. Now, you got to get, when I went to their offices, I didn't go in my Mercedes or my car. I wasn't making that much money then. I was struggling. I had to go on my Yamaha with the green gas tank, fancy green gas tank, and I would drive and I'd put a suit on and I'd drive and I'd go into their parking lot and I'd go out and I'd straighten myself out and try to remember all the rules my wife told me before I left about neatness. Did you notice? I like to wear jeans and a shirt. And I would go in and I would conduct business and work. And I did this, I worked like that all around here. But then I said, I want something else. I want to go out. So I started going to small cities. So guess what? We're getting close here. So I looked at it and I said, you know what would be nice? I said, I could do small cities. I used to be a CPA and audited small cities. I could do that. So I wrote a system to run Valley of the Moon Water, which is up in Sonoma. So I wrote a software package to do the utilities for Valley of the Moon Water. So I wrote that. And Callahan Pence was sort of in the daydream then. But I got him. And then my business went out, and I have over 120 cities all around our country. But then I said, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to expand. So I had this, magically a person appeared and said, hey, I can put you in Indian tribes. I know a bunch of Indian tribes. I said, Indian tribes? I don't know anything about Indian tribes. You can do it. You're great. I've seen your software. You can do it. You can do it, Roland. I said, okay. So I've got Indian tribes all over the country. So I travel all over. And I get to meet small town people from all over our country. Now you got to get, I got this little list at the front end. And I wrote that little list and put it in a piece, put it away. Magic! Magic! I was 65 or 66, somewhere in that area. And I was sitting in the middle of Africa putting in a utility system. And I was in a compound, and it was in Sudan, if you've ever heard of that. It's the latest newest country in the world. And 20 miles away from they were killing Christians. The Muslims were killing Christians. They'd bring kids in, they'd ask them, are you a Christian or a Muslim? And if they said Christian, they'd cut off their head. 20 miles. The war was still going on. 20 miles the other way, there was a Christian that killed everyone. In fact, he would bring kids in and he would train them, and their graduation was kill their parents. So I got to travel the world in exciting and wonderful and threatening and scary places. So my life has went on, and all because that one left. And McCarthy Ranch was part of my journey.